everyone. Welcome to Author Nation. Today we're talking about writing, creativity, and healing. I'm Melody Ann, and I'm your host, and I'm here to show you how to both write successfully and positively impact the world. And if you're interested in a bunch of treasure as an author, you can go visit authornation.online and get your favorite resources to help you be a successful writer. All right, so whether you are driving to work or sipping your morning coffee or maybe snuggled up in bed ready to go to sleep, let me introduce our guest. Dawn Christie is an author, certified intuitive life coach, and health coach dedicated to mental health, trauma recovery, and empowerment. Drawing from her own journey and professional expertise, she offers compassionate guidance to those seeking healing. Her debut book, A New Dawn Rising, Overcoming Generational Trauma and Reclaiming My Life, has resonated deeply with readers. Dawn's work has been featured in Medium Magazine, icyhealth.com, Zent, and Entrepreneur Magazine, where she shares insights on mental health and wellness. Through her writing and coaching, she empowers individuals to reclaim their stories, heal, and embrace a purposeful, joyful life. Dawn Christie, welcome to Author Nation Interviews.
Thank you so much, Melody. It's so great to be here.
I'm super excited about your book, and I want to start there. So can you tell us a little bit about A New Dawn Rising? And by the way, I really like the play there. Dawn.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I really wanted, it started out, to be honest, me just writing my feelings down. I never thought that this was going to turn into a book. And as time went on, my guides, my spirit guides, I kept hearing, you need to write the book. You need to turn this into a book. You need to write. People need to hear your words. They're powerful. There's so many people going through this. And that was the catalyst to start it. I started putting all the pieces together. I felt deep that this book could resonate with so many people. And I had to be brave and go deep. And I knew that the words on the pages would resonate with people. I knew that I wasn't the only one going through these things. And I felt that it was important to get that message out to the world and let others know that they weren't alone.
Yeah. And I love that you say that you've just started by writing down what you needed to write down. Because I often, when people come to me and say, I want to write a memoir, I often say, just start by writing your story for yourself. That's it. And if you decide to publish, great. And if you never decide to publish, you will go on a journey of personal discovery and development that is more powerful than anything else. And so was that your experience?
I'll be honest, it was a bit of both. And I'm glad you brought this up. For me, a lot of my verbiage came out at night when I was in bed. So I downloaded a recorder app and I would record myself because I would find that when I would write, I couldn't think. And when I was at night meditating, getting ready for bed, then all of a sudden all the thoughts came in. And I knew that that's when I was creative. So I laid in bed with my phone on a tape recorder and I just recorded myself talking about it. And it would transcribe. And then I would take that transcription and then it would help me have ideas on paper and then I can write from there. So I did it both ways. I did it however uniquely possible I could think of doing it, because there were times where I had writer's block and I would put that pressure on myself. And I thought, well, if I had a notepad, I could jot things down. And then if it wasn't that way, I would have my tape recorder on me because my phone was on me at all times. And that was another way it helped me get what I needed to get out. And that was a good catalyst also to help me write the book.
And I love that you've said that, because a lot of people tell me, I've thought about writing a book, but I'm not a writer. And you can speak, therefore you can write a book. So, you found the time when you were at your most creative, or when the thoughts were really coming at you, and you got them out in the way that best suited you at the moment. I just want to reiterate that for the audience. This is really important. There are no rules in this game, right? Say what you need to say, when you need to say it, and the way you need to say it. And if that means recording it, that's a wonderful thing. So how did owning your story transform your writing and your healing journey?
Oh, it was the catalyst. It helped me release. It was healing. It was a very healing experience for me, but it was also empowering for me to know that my words matter, that everyone's words matter. Everyone's words matter. And a lot of us don't feel heard. And I think what stops a lot of us from expressing ourselves is that fear that no one wants to listen, but you don't know how your story can inspire others. You don't know that your words have power and that they can be the catalyst in someone else's healing journey. So if you have that fear, just know that pushing through that fear is not only helping your growth, but it's also the catalyst for helping someone else's growth. However, you have to share your message with the world.
Yeah, let's dig into that a little bit, specifically with your healing, and you're not just healing from something that may have happened in your life, but you're dealing with intergenerational trauma, and that's something you work through for yourself in your book with your clients. And so, if you are writing your story and stuff starts coming up, intergenerational trauma starts coming up. First off, define it for us. And then can you talk about how to recognize it and what to do when it shows up?
Absolutely. And it could look different for everyone,
Yeah.
to be honest. It could be verbal, it could be mental, it could be physical, it could be everything. It could be a combination. So everybody's journey looks different. I want to make sure that it is not cookie cutter. It could be anything. Use, it could be alcoholism, it could be narcotics, it could be anything. The best way that I learned from my background and my own studies is a pattern that goes back generations. So I know for me personally, I looked at how my grandmother treated my mother, and those same characteristics of the belittling, the gaslighting, the dismissing. My mother did that to my grandmother, did that to my mother. My mother did the same thing to me. You don't recognize it when you're little. You don't. It when you come into your adulthood, and if you actually see, okay, why? Because I think everyone starts out like, why am I being treated this way? Like, why is this happening? Because you go into that mode of like, why me? Why do I feel like I'm being attacked? And when you push everything aside, and I started to look at the behavior of why was my mom acting like this? Why was my grandmother treating my mom like this? I started seeing a pattern. And I'm sure if I went back even further and looked into my grandmother's history with my great grandma, I'm sure there was something there too. So I started noticing behavior of how my grandmother used to treat my mother, and I would observe it as a little girl, and I saw the same patterns that my mother was treating me with. And that was the catalyst. And I started to understand, wow, okay, this it's not excusing the behavior, but it helped me understand why. It helped me understand that she was only going off of how she was brought up, and she didn't implement the tools that she needed, or she didn't have the resources she needed to heal. And it is a choice. It really is.
Yeah. So intergenerational trauma, we might consider it patterns of behavior passed on through generations that are harmful.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
it could be genetically too. Genetically.
Yep.
So if your child if you're the mother and you're carrying, and you're in fight, flight, freeze mode, and now your cortisol levels are up, now the baby is genetically inheriting that, and now the baby might be born and might be in a hypertensive state. So there's so many factors in this that now scientists are coming to the light of. These people, professionals are talking about it. You hear psychologists talking about it, and scientists talking about our genetics, our genes, what's passed on from the mother to the baby. So there's so many factors involved in it.
Yeah. And so now I'm writing my memoir, right? I've decided, whether I'm publishing or not, I'm writing my memoir. And as I'm doing so, there are some kind of hints of intergenerational trauma, but maybe I like you, maybe I have information, or maybe I don't. How can I write about it? How can I deal with it through writing to support my healing and my growth?
Coming from a place of empowerment, not in victimhood. I think that is a huge difference. When you're writing, for me, it's a form of empowerment. You're putting your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings to paper, to computer, however you choose to write, right? It has to come from a place of empowerment, because you are the catalyst of your own healing. You are taking the ropes of your life and you're saying, okay, this hurt, this deeply hurt. I had to unlearn everything I ever thought was true and rebuild my belief system all over again. And it was hard, and it's still hard, but I'm coming from a place of empowerment. I'm not coming from a place of victimhood anymore. I'm here to help the next generation, people out there struggling with the same things. And I think if you come from a place from that, you're not in this woe is me stage when you're writing, when you're trying to help others see the value in themselves.
Yeah. And when writing like this, we need to be authentic and vulnerable, don't we?
Yes, we do.
That's the hard part, right?
I don't think, I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever been this vulnerable in my life, as far as what I put in my book. I went to some really deep places in my soul to write this. And it had to be that way, because it couldn't be half done. It had to come from a place of truth. It had to come a place of rawness and exposing my own vulnerabilities of times where I don't feel enough, or, times where I was belittled, and what that did to me, where that took my life down a downward spiral. Like, I had to be authentic with this, because we're human. We're not perfect.
Exactly. And so I want to kind of tie empowerment and vulnerability and authenticity together in just a moment. But before I do, I just want to say that for the audience listening, you can be authentic and vulnerable with yourself and write something for yourself, but not publish it. So I want to reiterate this, because so many people think, well, I wrote it, I have to publish it. It's like, no, you don't. You do not have to publish it. You can go through this journey and be authentic and vulnerable and self-empowering without having to share your story in an unsafe place, including in a book, if that's not right for you. Okay, I want to talk about, so I'm writing my story. I'm digging down. I'm being as authentic and as vulnerable as I can be. And I'm trying to empower myself, and I'm realizing there are things I also need to take responsibility for.
Yep.
And yet I'm also a victim if I've had trauma inflicted on me. Can you kind of work through this a little bit with us?
Sure. I mean, when we first start out, we're all victims, because we don't understand what happened to us. I think once we understand what happens to us, we take that victimhood and we can shift it to empowerment, because it's like, okay, I dropped the cup of coffee. What are you going to do about it? Do you stand there and look at the spill and go, oh my gosh, I lost my cup of coffee? Or do you clean up the mess and pour yourself a new cup?
Yeah.
Right. So it's taking charge of your own life. You can choose. I think everything in life is a choice. You can choose to stay in that victimhood mentality, or you can make a choice to say, okay, I know that all of this happened. I don't agree with it, but I have the power to transform it. And I can choose to stay in this victimhood mode, or I can choose to empower myself and learn everything of why. And that's what I did. I was in victimhood mode. I can't sit here and claim that I wasn't a victim. Of course I was. And it took me a long time to empower myself to understand that I'm not a victim anymore. That my what happened in my life was validated. That yes, this is my truth. And once I learned that, once I had that foundation, then the rest was up to me. What do I do about it? Do I stay in that mode?
Yeah.
Or do I transform that and turn it into empowerment and help others in their healing journey?
Yeah, I love that. Now, there have been a lot of studies done about how powerful writing is in healing. And yet there is also a group of people who I know, when when they bring up their trauma, whether they're talking about it or writing about it, any form of reliving trauma is not helpful. And so I want to ask you, when you were exploring, you were, exploring deep, right? This was very personal and vulnerable. How did you maintain your mental health?
Honestly, I had to literally meditate, and I still do. I meditate every day. I have to have a self-care practice. I wake up at a certain time. I do my tasks. I coach. I have a pretty just chronological order of my schedule to keep me grounded. I think that is so important. And I'll be honest with you, when I was even writing the book and when the book was pretty much done, I was in the editing process. I was going through everything because, like I said, I would record certain things and I had to literally put everything together because there was pieces everywhere of the book. So this was a complete journey. And when I read everything back, there were parts that I was like, whoa, like I felt that. And I would cry and I would feel it too. And I would still go through this bittersweetness of it. So I can't sit here and say that it didn't even affect me then. It was in different state though. It was this, wow, I used to be that person. So as I was reading it, looking back, I was coming from a different place from when I was starting to write it. Now it's completed. I've come further in my healing journey. I was able to read it and just implement that in my life. And then it almost felt like a release.
Yeah.
Like once I got to that last page, I was like, wow, like this is like you kind of get impressed. Like I was like, whoa, like this, I did this. Like this is beautiful. And it just made me even more passionate. Like I got to get this book out here because I know this can help people. And you kind of get shocked of your own work, of realizing like when you come from a place of that deep place, how powerful your writing really is. It was a different form of writing for me completely.
Yeah, yeah. And I wish that response to finishing writing your book to all authors out there, by the way, that feeling of, wow, this is beautiful. I hope everyone feels that way. So we were talking about empowerment. What strategies have you found for writing to be effective for turning that personal trauma, that victimhood, into a narrative of empowerment?
Remember why you're doing this. Remember why you wanted to heal in the first place. It always went back to my why. And I don't know if that's the coaching part of me, but for me, that helped me stay grounded into why I'm writing it. It's not only for my own healing journey, it's not only to help others heal. I did it for my kids. I did it for my family lineage. I did it to help generational healing in my lineage, which I hope it does. So it's all these different factors that helped me understand that if I feel an emotion that doesn't sit right, because we're human, we're going to feel those what if moments, is to go back to center, breathe. Breathing techniques are huge for me. So it's in for 4, hold, out for 4. I do that when I meditate, just to ground yourself, center yourself, and to know that if you're not feeling like if you thought you felt like writing and then all of a sudden you're just not in that space, it's okay to walk away and give yourself that grace.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And it's funny you say that because there are people who say, if you're writing a book, you have consistency and whatnot. This is all very important. And I agree with that. And if you're dealing with some very deep personal trauma, I think you need to rethink the idea of forcing yourself to write when it's overwhelming and too much, right?
Absolutely.
I just want to show those differences, so people listening are like, yeah, there are times
Right.
when we sit down and we do things whether we want to or not, and there are other times when self-care is so much more important than getting words on a page.
Absolutely. And for me, it wasn't about, okay, I have a time limit on this. I
Yeah.
started writing this book 3 years ago. This was not an overnight project. And then after that, I sat on it for a year. I did. It was written. It wasn't the final edit. It was like the second to final edit. And I sat on it for a year because I was like, who wants to hear this? Is anyone like, I'm human. And I sat it. And then I kept hearing, no, You need to publish it. You need to publish it. You need to publish it. Your words matter. You need to
Yeah.
okay. I'll do it.
Lovely.
You just gotta do it.
Yes, exactly. All right. I would love for you to give us like the 1 minute or the 30-second summary of A New Dawn Rising.
Oh gosh. Um, so for me, it's from my childhood all the way up until I'd say about a year ago in my life. It starts out in my childhood. I bring you through my childhood, how I grew up, my relationships, not only with my family, but with others in my life, because there is a pattern there of toxic love. I take you through what I did to empower myself on my own healing journey. I did this all on my own, and I had to build my healing team. So I go through that. I talk about how I built my healing team, the strategies I used to heal, and just real raw, vulnerable things of what happened to me and how I chose to empower myself and understand that healing is not an overnight thing. I didn't get this way in my 40 years. It's going to take some time to heal, and just go with the flow. Just every day, keep yourself as grounded as you possibly can. Understand your emotions, understand your feelings, and just allow yourself to be and go through the healing process.
Yeah. One thing I love about memoirs is that it doesn't tell us what to do. It shows us a path that somebody else took that we could take or take things from to help us in our own path. That's something I love about memoirs.
Absolutely.
So you can find Dawn's book on Amazon. I will drop the link in the show notes for you so that you can find that and read that and have another path to look at as you are forging your own path through your own life. All right, Dawn, you know, people have been listening to us talking about intergenerational trauma, writing about trauma and being, finding our narrative, empowering ourselves, taking responsibility, yet still understanding at one point we were victims. All of this stuff we've been talking about. And what I love to do is I like to say, we've come near to the end and people are now going, okay, I want in. What do I do now? What can people do right now? Maybe 3 things that people can do to help them kind of get started or get over a bump. Maybe look at intergenerational trauma. What would be your 3 things?
Honestly, number one is making the choice to heal. It's work. It's not easy work. And I think a lot of people want some overnight fix, and that's just not the case with this. I'll be perfectly raw and honest about it. So it's making the commitment to heal. And then doing some research, find, and you could have, for me, especially, I had a psychiatrist or a psychologist, I had a coach, I had podcasts and books. I just combined everything. So do what works for you. Find support through healthy family and friends that actually have your back, that are willing that you can be vulnerable with. Finding people that can help you, and that is different for everybody.
Yeah.
Number 2, honestly, diet and exercise, whatever that looks like for you. That was a catalyst in my healing journey too, because I'll be honest, I ate my emotions for a long time and it did not serve me. And that, again, being raw and honest and real, because I am human, I ate my emotions for years and it did not serve me. It caused a lot of weakness. It caused a lot of just ucky feelings. So just getting into a healthy diet, any kind of movement, whether that's walking, whatever kind of exercise that you choose to do. Sunlight's huge. Go outside, be in nature, get some fresh air. That will do wonders. It does wonders for me. I do it every day. I walk the track here where I live every single day, even in the snow. I've done it in the snow too, just to keep me grounded. And 3, have fun with it. Explore. What are you interested in? What other tools in your toolbox can you add? Is it enjoying a craft? Is it implementing something that you can creatively express yourself through art? That is such a healing element for me too, expressing yourself through other modalities, whether it's music, art, your favorite local social group. find a way to build community would be my third.
So number one, choose to heal. Create your healing team, right? Put together a heal team. Number two, self-care, right? Whatever that means for you. And number three, enjoy, like have fun, enjoy the process. Don't take it so seriously that you can't play as you journey through this. Thank you, Dawn, so much for those three. I think they are wonderful pieces of advice. If somebody is listening right now and says, I have to talk to Dawn, how do they get in touch with you?
I am so simple. I am old school. You guys can literally find me on social media. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on all of them. And Dawn Christine at gmail.com. And Dawn is with an E. Reach out, send me an email. I'm old school. I coach. I want to get to know you. I want to get to know how I can help you. Just send me an email. I will get back to you. It is me personally responding. I promise you that.
Perfect. And for everyone, I'm going to put that email in the show notes so that you can email Dawn and work with her, or connect with her, or tell her how much you love the book, or whatever it is that you want to say. All right, Dawn, thank you so much for joining us on Author Nation today. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Melody, it was such an honor. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And to everyone out there, thank you for joining us on Author Nation today. I hope this conversation has provided you with some valuable insights and some inspiration to really dig into your own story and, figure out how to move forward in life in a way that is joyful and healing and empowering. And don't forget to visit authornation.online for your resources to help you become a successful author. And of course, I always really appreciate your feedback and your support. Thank you so much to everyone who has, reviewed or made comments. I really enjoy that. I love reading them. And if you've enjoyed this episode, send it to a friend, send it to someone you know someone who needs this. So send it off to them so your fellow author can benefit, because your participation helps us continue delivering the insights and the tools you need to succeed. So keep writing, keep creating, and continue to share your unique stories with the world.